Oh. This is my first beer out of a crowler.
Get out of here.
Ever.
Shut up.
Nope.
That's not true. You had a taste of one.
Can you pass that to Paige?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you had a taste of mine.
Thank you.
Oktoberfest.
Oh, that's right.
All right, so pull down to refresh. So swipe
Oh,
down.
okay,
So
right.
yeah. And then it should, yeah.
Oh,
and then just click
nice.
share.
Just hit share. Which one?
Sorry, go. Which one's my volume
And
two?
now, there you go.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Oh,
Which one's my volume?
You're joking.
No.
What are you
That
doing?
was
All right,
fun.
Todd and Suzie Ford with NoDa Brewing Company are in the building, and we've got Paige. Your head is chopped off. Your
This
head
is
is
my
chopped
hip.
off.
All right, well, I will
This is
sit
great.
back down.
You're the far dial on the right, but I'm going to let you figure that out. So,
That-
no,
that-
on the right. That's your left.
Oh.
All the way to the right.
Here.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
All right. Okay.
All right.
And she's back. What's up, guys?
Hi, how are
Hey, good to
you?
be here.
Welcome to Hooga on Remount.
Try number two.
Try number 2. So we said we were heading uptown. Just kidding.
Oops. That's all right. We had. There's several Huga locations, so
There.
Which is perfect.
yes.
And yeah, shout out to Garrett again for hosting us. I feel like we give him
Seriously.
shout outs in the intro and like on social media, but we were one of their first podcast residency selections, and we're like a year into this now. This is,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
amazing.
That's crazy.
I
Is
know.
it really?
I know. So shout out
What better
to
way
him.
to celebrate?
Exactly.
Right?
Speaking of which, so I mean, we kind of thought maybe you guys would bring beer. You delivered in a big way. We've got stemware, fancy glasses.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us what you did bring? Because there are cans that are huge, and I think that's also part of the story here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing growlers since day number one back in 2011, and glass was always a great way to do beer to go. And but you know, we've grown with the times. There's a lot of new breweries that are out that are experimenting with different packages, and the 32-ounce can is the new growler.
Is that what these are?
Basically,
Yes.
it's a growler that's a can version, 32-ounce form, and we call them growlers for short. And they're basically two 16-ounce cans rolled into one, and we just started doing them, and people seem pretty excited. We have one or two in our refrigerator at home. They were
Maybe a
just
couple.
for
I
test,
guess, yeah.
just for test purposes, but so far they turned out to be very popular. I think it's going to be a great way to get beer to the people.
Yeah, and it's filled on demand. So anything that's on
So
tap.
super fresh.
Yep, super fresh. Anything that's on tap that you can get in a flight, you can get in a crowler to go. It's perfect.
Mine is delicious. What is mine again?
Yours is a red, blue, and white ale.
Oh.
It is just a white wheat ale. It's really good.
It's really refreshing.
It's
Yeah,
very
this is. I
refreshing.
love this for like just to do exactly this. I'm thirsty. It's
And
cold beer.
Right. So I'm going to drink something.
I want to. Yeah.
And Todd, you are drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I'm starting
That
to
looks
wonder about
awesome.
my manhood just a little bit here.
I'm-
All of you guys have definitely beer-looking beer.
It takes
and
a
I
real
have-
man to drink pink beer, Todd.
Thank you. It looks more like a champagne drink or something.
What is it?
I bet it's real good.
But it's a traditionally the style is a German sour beer called a Gose, and it's typically made with a bit of wheat, and they use salt, and it adds a little bit more mouthfeel to the beer. But it's typically lower gravity, around 4%, which is really good for my physique right now. So, the big IPAs are fun, but they are a little harder on me
They'll
than they
get
used
you,
to be.
right? I know.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is what the doctor ordered at
Yeah.
4%. And this one just happens to be a festive cranberry version for Thanksgiving.
Tis
so.
the season.
I know it is. I mean, I'm a seasonal drinker. Are you guys? I love it. It's
Oh,
like,
totally.
yeah, you want to drink something that feels like it's right for the time of year.
It does.
Yeah.
And speaking of time of year, I mean, you know I'm drinking Happy Holidays.
That's why I brought it.
I mean, exactly. I mean, you know me very well. Which actually, I feel like we got like full disclosure. I'm a couple months into being a member of your advisory board,
You are.
which I told Paige straight away. That
page wasn't available, by the way.
Should, you know
how do
where
I turn this live stream
where
off?
to go to the,
How do I
yeah.
turn this live stream off? No, I said, look, there is our wedding day. There is our kids' birthdays. And then there's the day I got the email from
Got that
Suzie about, I think you forwarded along, like,
You did.
Susie's got some exciting news for me. And I'm like, get out of here, get out of my way. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's been awesome. I appreciate you guys
Thank
letting me
you.
take a peek behind the curtain a little bit. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for your input and your
Yeah.
ideas and humoring us along the way.
Yeah, so this will get posted. Wait a minute, just that's what I'm there for. Comedic relief. That's it. No, and this podcast will go live on iTunes and so on the day after, a couple days after tomorrow. This is going live right now, but tomorrow you've got a fun event going on, right? Is that?
We do.
Actual
with you.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
One with you. Yeah, it's
Yes.
true. So it's not a secret because this will be a couple days.
So if it is,
Right.
we're not gonna back out of this really quickly.
But
Yeah.
anyone watching on Facebook now?
Oh, then I can back out of it. If it is a secret,
Oh.
then you know what? It is a secret. I almost blew it. So I was on the.
Jay!
Guys, this has been a fun ride for me.
Hey, if
on
you're
the
watching on
advisory
Facebook
board.
right now, keep your mouth shut.
I didn't say anything.
No, I'm saying to Facebook, keep your mouth shut.
Well, we literally told Facebook nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and say it, but it's an undisclosed location.
There you go.
We are releasing our 2017 Monstro in bottles, 22-ounce format, next Friday at the tap room.
Oh wow.
And a few select people, Jake included, are going to be doing a private tasting tomorrow to let us know what they think, give us some tasting notes,
It's a
and
little
just
bit, it's a little bit too late to find out they don't like it.
exactly. So just smile and drink.
Thank you so much for having.
We're still gonna release it on Friday, whether you like
Whether
it.
you like it or not, yeah.
Now that I've blown it, so I mean we're gonna beat this thing. That's the guy that blew the secret last time.
This is his last night with us.
Yeah.
That's when you go, my name is Chad Henderson.
Right.
Love that guy, and we will talk about Chad in a second. Go ahead.
Definitely. So we're super excited about tomorrow. We're going to taste this year's Monstro, which is a Russian Imperial Stout that we have aged for the last year in bourbon barrels.
Wow.
And we're going to compare it to our 2016 Russian Imperial Stout of Monstro that we canned last year, and it was aging in bourbon barrels for a year prior to last year. So it's been aging in a barrel or a can for 2 years. So it should be pretty darn amazing.
Can I ask a dumb question?
No.
As
Oh,
the non,
yes.
yeah, thank you. As the non, I enjoy beer, but don't know nearly as much about it as any of the three of you. And we'll get to your personal background and stuff here in a second. But what's a Monstro?
Chad, or Todd.
I gotta
I
think
do
you do
that all the
that probably
time,
10 to 15. Yeah, Jason.
No,
Right.
no, a lot of breweries around here, including ourselves, release some of their bigger, heavier beers, higher in alcohol, higher in residual sugars. We call them big, chewy beers. Russian Imperial Stouts tend to be one of the more popular styles, and those type of beers are lend themselves very well to aging them in different barrels, whether they're wine barrels or bourbon barrels, or there's a variety. A lot of bourbon barrels or whiskey barrels, very similar flavor profile. So this is something we've been doing now. I think this is our 5th year of doing Monstro. It's a little difficult. No, I think you're saying 4. Maybe it's 4. Sorry,
You
it's
can
all a
see
blur.
from that part, yeah.
It's over 10%, so it is a blur. But no, it's simply a Russian Imperial Stout.
Okay.
It's a style that was created to accentuate roasty character of the stouts. It's very chewy. It's very thick. Lots of residual sugars. It's definitely not a diet beer.
Right.
Not a diet beer, and not a beer for you. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you. I think what I'm looking at right
This
here.
is my
This is right
Yeah,
down the middle of the
It's
plate.
not my style either. It's a little too much.
Okay, no, that's good to know though.
So we
Good to-
named it Monstro
Right.
because big beers and rare beers they call white whales.
Yeah.
So Monstro on the label is a huge whale.
Oh, fun.
With lots of scratch marks and cut marks and bite marks in its skin. So it's
And if you haven't noticed it walking through your local grocery store, every beer name in the world is already taken. So
Right.
I mean, we're really
That's so
consulting.
true.
How many different ways can you use the word hop?
Yeah,
I know.
The
I
hot
know.
puns are pretty much been played
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to find a name. Chad came up with this one. We liked it. It's the mythical character from Pinocchio. Although we should probably not say that because that will lead us into legal issues.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
But, no, we don't want to do
it's
that.
a made up name.
It's a made-up name. Yes, it has nothing to do with that other thing. So,
Got it.
but anyway, it's a fun beer, and I think people are really going to like it this year. We did it last year. It was a wonderful tasting beer. You'll get a chance to try last year's as well tomorrow.
You might want to send a
can.
bus.
I
Send
was
an
gonna
Uber.
say, yeah,
Yeah.
we will, yeah.
It was in a can format, and it did really well as far as the can is a great place for it, but I don't think people quite understood that style in a can yet. So
Right.
we understand that, so we're going back to the glass this year, so we'll be putting it in bottles.
Well, Jake is super pumped about tomorrow night and just in general being on the board with you guys. So let's give people a little glimpse into you, okay? Because no, I feel like NoDa was like the first, and maybe I'm wrong, but when we literally, you guys, when we were thinking about moving to Charlotte from Raleigh, it was like the Panthers are there, the Hornets are there, and Jake, NoDa Brewing, because he had just gotten a Hot Drop. It was when Hot Drop had just won the big award, right?
2014.
2000, that's when we moved.
Yep.
And it was one of the selling points, literally, to coming to Charlotte, and it was like, you know, and then, you know, a couple years later, here you guys are, and there's bajillions of other breweries, and it's just such a fun culture, and very few people get a look at behind the scenes, too, of just the people who kind of make it all happen. So that's why we want to do that with you guys here tonight. Not only the business side from NoDa and how that came to be, but just you guys also, and kind of how you guys. So can you tell us just a little bit about yourselves in general, before beer, I mean, like where you're from, where you went to school, how you guys met?
Sure. I moved here in 1996 from California, so I'm not born, I was born in Newport, Oregon. My parents were hippies, moved to...
Truly?
Truly. They probably didn't listen to this and not like this.
Well, if they're hippies,
Well,
they
they were
definitely don't
not,
have the
right?
internet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they
true.
do.
Okay, all right, got it.
They're
All right.
They're
reformed
modern
hippies?
day.
Okay.
Modern hippies, okay.
Is your real name like Sunshine and they call you Susie?
I have not checked my birth certificate.
Oh.
I think there's a possibility.
Yeah.
My
That's a
dad...
great question.
I know.
Okay.
My dad got transferred to the Bay Area when I was 1, so I grew up in the Bay Area, loved it, was in banking. I'm one of the few people, it seems like, that didn't go to college. I cut my teeth in banking and just worked my way up. 96, moved to Charlotte to stay in banking, because obviously Charlotte.
Right.
Moved here, decided to temporarily get out of banking and get into sports marketing, which was amazing. I love sports.
Yeah.
I ended up loving marketing.
Were you with one of the local teams or just
No, I was actually with Morris International. They did a lot of NASCAR, a lot of racing.
Okay.
They brought the Truck Series to fruition for Bruton Smith. They did professional sailing. We represented GMAC. It was just a lot of fun. I knew nothing about NASCAR, so it was super exciting being new to the city, to being completely immersed in everything having to do with the city. So that was exciting. After a couple years, I missed banking, which sounds really crazy to say out loud.
Says no one ever.
I know.
Right.
Got back into banking for a few years. As with banks, they get bought out. So my bank ended up being bought out. Todd and I, second marriage. I moved
both of you, each of you?
Each of us.
You're plowing through some details here. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's
We're gonna come back.
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna come back.
So Todd and I met in 2003 on Match.com.
Yes!
That's a nugget. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a nugget.
Yeah.
Back when Match was a thing.
Back
But by the way,
when
did you see-
Tinder now, apparently, and Bumble.
Did you see how she did that? She goes, Todd and I met, like
Yeah.
you had a little.
Still got the little, yeah.
She still had the shoulder.
I know.
Right.
She still gets
Okay.
the truck.
We both figured I'm normal, he's normal. I'm out here on Match.com, he's out here on Match.com, so there has to be some normal people, right?
Right.
And it turns out we were in the carpool lane together, didn't even know it.
Wait, carpool lane?
At school.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
Wait, like kid carpool lane?
Kid carpool. Our two old, my oldest, his oldest, went to school together. My youngest, his youngest, went to school together.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, how
I don't know if they specifically knew each other, they knew of each other.
Yeah.
You know, those two cool kids.
Yeah. We're gonna be siblings.
Yeah, so it's crazy. We had another little known fact. We had a whirlwind courtship and engagement.
Oh yeah, it's probably close to a record, I think.
It's
For those who don't go to Vegas, this is.
I was gonna say
probably-
we had a pretty quick one, but I'm
No,
guessing
I'm
you
sure
guys
it
were
breaks
way-
down. What you're
5 weeks.
saying.
We got
What?
engaged in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
We were older than most
You know,
people.
you knew.
You knew.
Like at that point, you
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
you
I
literally knew
Um,
at this point. Okay.
And my parents were very supportive. They didn't go, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy. Are you sure he's not a serial killer?" or
That's,
something
that's
like
the
that.
hippie part of that.
That's the
Yeah.
hippie
Yeah,
part of
they're like,
that.
okay, it's
Yeah.
good.
You
Follow
don't
your heart.
read serial killer. You don't.
You
watch
don't
serial
read serial killer, yeah.
No.
Well, they didn't catch me at least.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, on the next episode,
Yeah.
date night with Jake.
Where's
Right.
Susie? Where's Susie? And we got married in June of the next year. So
Wow.
Wow.
we're-
So that's what, you're not 2000.
We're gonna be 14 years this coming, June.
Very cool.
Yeah, so,
It's been a good 14 years, but
It's been
it's been a tale of two different halves, I
Worlds.
guess. Yeah, the first 5 or 6 years, I was flying as an airline pilot, so I was home. When I was home 100% of the time.
Sneaky background. We used to be
Oh,
a
yeah.
pilot. Wait, we'll back up from that too. You're from where originally?
Originally from Greensboro, so just
Okay,
up the
local
road.
boy.
So I
Yeah.
call myself a local, even though I moved here in '86.
Okay.
I remember what Charlotte was without traffic.
Yeah.
I still prefer the traffic part and having all the amenities that we have now, but it's been an interesting run.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's Charlotte's a great city. I moved here for an airline job to live here in Charlotte because of the job was based here. But one funny thing about airline jobs is it seems like you can take them and be based around the world and commute.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I like Charlotte so much. I made it my home, even though later was transferred to New York, Miami, Fort Lauderdale,
Wow.
Cincinnati. And then for a short period of time, I was in essence based in Belgium. But
which was fun.
What? Wait, so you would have to fly from here to Belgium to start your shift?
often would start in Belgium.
And so you got to,
it was a
like,
good
I'm gonna
time.
go visit.
It was a good time. But it did wear a little thin because days off were short.
Mm-hmm.
The company was a freight company this time, and we were bought out by another company. Let's see a pattern here.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of you.
And really that has a lot to do with why we're doing what we're doing. And I enjoyed my job very much. Still have an opportunity to see some of the people I used to fly with.
Oh, cool.
They have layovers here in Charlotte.
I was gonna say, they come into the brewery?
Yeah.
Oh, I
do.
bet. I
It
bet.
is.
That is fun.
And I'm really honored because many of them look at me as an individual who was able to break out of that mold.
Right.
Escape.
Of course, I escaped to a much lower pay rate.
But there's
Worse
beer at the end of the day.
benefits. But yeah, there's beer at the end of the day. But if you have money, you can buy beer too.
You seem to be talking yourself out of this.
Right.
Yeah, live on this Facebook
You know,
stream.
they had a big debacle here recently. They're looking for pilots to step in for the holidays. Not sure if you've been watching the news.
Unfortunately, they're looking for
Yes.
pilots because they don't want to pay them what they used to pay them in the past, and I think that's supply demand. If you obviously if you don't want to pay, the demand's going to go
Then
down.
people, yeah.
So I mean, it's been great living here in Charlotte. I think at one time we even contemplated moving out west. And
No. Oh, out west, yes. For the longest time, I was going there.
To China.
I was not
He was
contemplating that
based out
time.
of Cincinnati, and he wanted me to move to Cincinnati.
Mm.
It snows. It
No
snows.
disrespect.
No disrespect.
Well, I
but
wanted to
it
spend
snows.
time with her.
Yeah.
I thought that was a heartwarming sentiment. But apparently, she considered it torture.
Well, he said, I'll buy you a kegerator. And I'm like,
I would've been in.
And she
Yeah.
I would've been in.
actually,
I did.
Jake would follow you.
yeah, she actually stammered a little bit when I said that. But ultimately, the answer was no. But I thought I had a shot at it after I
Yes.
up the game a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, I am in Cincinnati. Oh, Cincinnati. You know what? I've actually got to go.
Hands, yeah.
So how did the two of you meet?
Match.com, you know.
Oh,
correct?
Match. But okay, sorry. So there's Match.com, and then 5 weeks. Gosh.
So you're married. Go ahead.
We're married. Let me back up his education a little bit. That kind of brings into the brewery. too.
Yeah, I was going to
He
say.
went to Washington and Lee.
Okay.
And we're finding all kind of Washington and Leers. I don't know what.
What are you? The Generals?
The generals.
The Generals.
Good.
I think I just made that up because it would make sense. But
Absolutely.
okay.
Coming out of the woodwork. So he went to Washington and Lee
Okay.
as a chemistry major, but
Yep.
never put it into practice. Started flying, found his love, his passion for that. But then in the mid-90s started home brewing.
Yeah, so the
Oh.
chemistry piece, yeah. And by the way, the reason I asked how you guys met again, because the 5 weeks, like I needed more story. Like you guys like jumped straight to it. Like, all right, got it. I felt like there was more there, but
Yeah.
literally there was not more there. There was only
Yeah.
5 weeks.
5 weeks in person. So we had corresponded for a while back
Online.
in the day because he was an airline pilot, worked the opposite shift. So he was flying at night. He has your hours.
Yeah.
So corresponding or meeting
Yeah,
was
it's
tough.
That's a fist bump for you,
Yeah,
Todd. There we
it is.
go.
Yeah, Todd, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So chemist, and did you have a passion for beer and a passion for science, or just science and like you stumbled upon a bag of grain or something?
I liked beer. I wouldn't say that beer was overwhelmed my life, but obviously the hobby of making and producing the product yourself was enticing, and this is back before the internet was popular with beer recipes and things like
Right.
that. So you're pretty much on your own. So I went over to a homebrew store here in town, Alternative Beverage, which is
Is that South Boulevard,
it
right?
was actually on South Boulevard at that time at a different
Nice.
location. It's popped around a few different places, and they hooked me up with some supplies, and I made a barely drinkable beer that I would not give to anybody else, but I drank all of it myself. I considered it my penance for making such a poor tasting beer that I had to consume it all. But I was hooked at that particular point because I was not going to accept failure. I was definitely going to make something that was going to be palatable and I could actually share with other people.
But I'm like, I want to go like way into the weeds on this. So, like,
Mhm.
did you meet someone that did it? Like, what?
No, I didn't really have anybody that I knew that did it. But at that time, when you go into the homebrew store, you immediately meet others who are
Right.
are lurking about. Before there was bulletin boards and forums on the
Lurking.
internet.
Hey,
about.
man, what hop are you using?
There was a lot of that, and we'd talk about the beers that were interest to us at that time, and we're talking at that period of time would be like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and
Right.
Samuel Smith's.
Which, by the way, my parents still buy me. Like,
Oh
when
my
I come,
gosh, that
when
used to be our
When I come
go-to.
home for the holidays, they're like, "Look what we've got for you." I'm like,
Got you a special
"The game
beer.
has changed, Mom and Dad." Okay, got it.
It is still a great beer, but I do remember when it was so hoppy I could barely drink
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
And
was
now-
the mid-90s he started.
Yeah, so.
So when did you go from that to like, was there a point at which you kind of looked at each other like, do we want to start our, like, what could this become?
It's crazy. So he quit homebrewing for a little bit because he had kids, single father.
How old were your kids when you guys met and got married?
It's easiest to say their ages
Sure.
at that time. 15, 14, 12, and 11.
Okay.
So, wow.
Cool.
Boys, girls?
But,
Three
like,
boys, one girl.
Yeah.
But
We've
like,
done a
right
lot
in
of
a row.
damage already to these
Right.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So he didn't homebrew when we first met.
Okay.
I obviously like beer, and he knew that. So I was at work one day, and he decided to pull his homebrew supplies out and brew a batch of beer. And I walk in the door after work, and I'm like, "What is that smell?" And he's thinking she hates this.
Yeah, I was
My
pretty much
short-lived
I was
careers.
pretty convinced that this was my
So you were
first
trying to
and
flex
last
a little bit.
homebrewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picture Todd like, yeah, this is Jade Hop. That's
Well-
special for you. What's up, Boo? What's up, Boo? And you're like,
Well, what I needed to do was to make something that she would like.
Smart.
So I was smart on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your style?
Well, at that time it was Yingling Lager.
I
But-
still.
Suzie, do you want to get out of here?
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
But at that time I wasn't set up to do any type of lagers because of the
It's
lager.
different,
It
yeah.
requires a little more equipment than I had at that particular time. So I made something close to that, I believe.
Well, it was a nice surprise when he thought that I was going to say I hated that smell, and I'm like, I love the smell. We should make perfume. This is the greatest thing. So our marriage was sealed. Definitely
Yeah.
At that point.
But just to stay there for a second. So I know you said like you liked beer, but like any part of you like really liked beer, or were you just like, this is cool?
I thought it was really cool, as passionate and as excited as he was about the process.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm a drinker. I'm not a brewer. I'm not a science person.
But business,
I'm a drinker.
banking background.
Yeah.
And marketing. You
Yeah.
kill the marketing game.
Thank you.
You
Thank
do.
you. So fast forward probably 5 years, maybe.
Of what? Just dabbling
of
throughout those 5 years?
dabbling.
Uh-huh.
And we started having house parties.
Mhm.
At first we bottled the beer. Then he got an old freezer from Craigslist, or I think it was probably Craigslist, up in Concord, and we brought it home and he made a kegerator with 2 taps. Then we
I
made
think-
4 taps.
I'm turned on by you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like homemade taps.
I
That's
God.
why he doesn't really hear. We just want to see if he doesn't like drink.
Seriously, what was amazing is what an easy sell it was to go, I think we really should have a 6 keg
Yes.
kegerator in our
You had a
basement.
6 keg kegerator in your basement?
We just kept slowly adding and having bigger parties and bigger
Yeah.
parties.
Oh my
And
god.
when you're giving people free beer, of course they're going to tell
Of
you it's
course.
great.
Please send
And
me
they're
these
going to tell you
pictures.
that.
Please send me.
There is.
Oh,
I
I wanna
Oh,
see
cool.
that.
Yeah, and they're telling you open a brewery, and we're like, no. Well, my bank was bought out, his airline was bought out. I didn't have a job, but he had a job still. But he was flying, all the time.
Yeah.
Going to Africa, going to, as cool as Belgium is, it's still really far away.
Yeah.
So we kind of stepped back and said, is this a marriage? Is this what we want, to never see each other? And we decided, no, that's not what we want. And started listening to everyone saying, hey, like, you should open a brewery.
You know,
we started investigating and...
Well, she certainly was on board, but I think a good bit of it is we've been sitting around a little bit, you know, being negative Nellies, going, you know, our company stinks, it's, you know, this is going poorly, this is going poorly, the decisions, the decisions at the top are not conducive to long-term success, and I was in a business that was seniority oriented, so if the bosses made a bad decision and the whole company went down, that I had to start at the bottom again. So, and that is, that's quite a threat when you're approaching 50 years old, and you know, you've been in a company long enough that things are going reasonably well, and you have a pretty good schedule, and your pay's not too bad.
And that's basically what happened. His airline pulled out of the U.S., so he went from very senior, being able to hold Charlotte, get to Charlotte all the time, to never getting to Charlotte.
Because airlines, it's all about that, right? It's just,
Yeah, he still had a job, but it was scary.
Can I ask what airline was that?
Well, originally I started with Pan Am. I moved to Charlotte for a job here that for a feeder for Piedmont. Went to Pan Am, and then when Pan Am went out of business, I went to Airborne Express. That was a cargo company. As it was explained to me that while I was filling out the application, this is one of those places you work until you get on a job at United. I said, okay, well, that's good. That's what I'll do. I'll work there until I get a job at United. And sure enough, about 2 years later, United called, went to the interview, got hired, and then started looking at the benefits of staying at a package company versus flying people around. They call it self-loading packages, the people part. That's our freight dog insight tonight, self-loading packages. So, and it was actually, the benefits to staying at the cargo side were way outweighed going to the passenger side.
Airborne Express.
Got it.
So, and then DHL later bought a large portion of Airborne, and that's when things started to go a little bit rough. So that's it in a nutshell.
Which could be just the kick in the pants you need to start your own brewery, right?
So there's like a million ways we can take the story. Like there's the beer side, but then there's the, like, I just want to, for a second, entrepreneurial, oh my God, we're starting a company. What did that look like? Was that in the basement?
And both of you, right? Did you both jump in, or did one of you keep a job?
He kept a job, so it's kind of funny. He kept a job. So in November of 2010, we really decided that we needed a...
Jake would like some more beer.
I'm sorry. I meant that for time.
Pause.
I'm just pointing at you.
November 2010, we decided, hey, we're going to do this. So on a trip to Cincinnati to close his crash pad, we started Googling names, trying to figure out what are we going to name this entity. And every name we came up with was taken. And we came across...
Like what? What are some of the...
My favorite was Blind Squirrel.
Okay,
And
I love
there's
it.
Blind Squirrel Brewing. I thought it was perfect, and it was, but so we came across NoDa Brewing, and we're like, oh, it has to be taken. No.
Oh my God.
So we took it.
Yeah.
Then we started creating a
Were you
logo.
living in NoDa?
No, we've never lived in NoDa.
Well,
We live in Cotswold.
What brought that about was so many of the available spaces, buildings that suited the zoning requirements for buildings were in NoDa, and not many in South End at that particular time. And later they expanded some of the zoning categories that allowed breweries to move to different places. But it was pretty tough pickings right there at the very beginning. We had to basically be in an industrial area, and that was one that we could afford. Now, we couldn't probably afford it now.
I was going to say, it's amazing how...
Plus, NoDa Brewing has a much better ring to it than Cotswold Brewing.
It does. And we had the original location on North Davidson was the first building we looked at. And it's kind of like when you buy a house, we leased the building, but when you buy a house, you don't want to buy the first one you look at. So we kept looking at others and coming back and checking this. And just, it was meant to be. It was so meant to be.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is.
So we came up with a name, reached out to a friend of a friend to create a logo, scheduled our last house party, but didn't really tell anyone what we were doing. A few people knew.
Their house parties were so legit that they had to schedule the last one.
I love
gosh!
And we did the unveiling and
Like they got there and you were like, surprise, we're telling you, shut up, I feel like you're like
It was
a
fun.
Kardashian surprise wedding or something. Come to a house party, no, you're really here for our launch of our new brewery.
Exactly, tell us what you think.
Oh my gosh.
So we made some fun tap handles. Todd is very creative. Actually, we made some tap handles out of table legs. So again, I'll send you the pictures.
Yes.
Inexpensive. I am cheap, so. So we had, hop, drop, and roll, which was his homebrew recipe.
No.
So, oh my gosh, this is where I wanted this to go. So, so NoDa started with your homebrews?
Yes.
Yeah, really
Hop
did.
Drop came from a homebrew recipe?
It did.
Coco Loco too.
And I was a member of the local homebrew club here at the Charlotte, the Carolina Brewmasters,
Yeah.
and they were very instrumental in helping us tweak the recipe. There's some
Yeah.
phenomenal brewers and excellent beer judges in that group, and it's a great resource if you do like the hobby of homebrewing, and even if you just have a significant other that enjoys it. It's a fun meeting.
I
You
bet.
go. And they meet once a month, and it's a great group, and they allow you to improve. They give you very positive critiques of your concoctions.
Because to your point, what good does it do if everyone just comes and goes,
Exactly.
this is delish?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we made a couple hop substitutions to the original hop drop and roll to make it available so that we could actually buy some of the hops that were in it.
Mhm.
And of course that got burned immediately because the ones that I substituted later became as rare as the first one. So,
Oh, really?
Citrus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but that was essentially the gist of it. And while still flying, Susie and I went out to Hawaii for a brief vacation with some friends who invited us out because they had a vacation timeshare, and everybody else's plans had fallen through. That all their previous guests had fallen through at the last minute, and
I love those.
We're in the
me
right place
too.
at the right
You're like,
time.
we have no pride, we'll totally come.
absolutely, we don't care if we were third
Yeah.
or fourth choice.
Do you let
We say that.
Yeah.
We say that all the time.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and we were willing to book an airline flight quickly, so we made it out there. And I had been to Hawaii, but it had been a long time. But I had just fell in love with this particular beer in Hawaii that was made at NoDa Brewing Company, and it was their coconut porter. And we consumed a lot of it out there, a lot of it. And
So
You gotta
cool.
be sure, you're
Right.
doing research.
Exactly.
right, and it just seemed to fit perfectly. The coconut, and the toastiness of a porter, and you're sitting there watching the sun go down in Hawaii.
Mhm.
When we get back to North Carolina, none of that beer is available.
Oh, you're like, wah, wah.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, darn it, I can make beer. Let's figure this out.
do it.
And so we tried several attempts that were sort of feeble to get close to what it was, but we kept knocking around with it. And basically we were trying to get what we had experienced in Hawaii, but I have attention deficit. So as we're brewing there, I'm looking up on the shelves and I see all this chocolate that's sitting up there for another brew, and I ended up dumping it in.
Come on.
And so, I mean,
Origin
what's better?
story.
What is better than chocolate and coconut? I mean, it's like a
Amen.
Mounds bar, right?
Yeah.
So,
Alcohol. If
and-
only you add alcohol.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait a
So
minute.
that was the gist of Coco Loco, and now
Wow.
I think the Imperial version for Maui Brewing Company actually has chocolate. I think the original
Oh, that's
does,
awesome.
so. And they were very, very nice to us. When we were starting out, very, very young and eager, but probably a little less technically proficient,
Yeah.
and having some challenges with coconut. As a brewing aid, we actually called them up and asked them, and they're like, "No, we're more than happy to talk to you about it." And they
That's
gave us
great.
some really nice tips. The tips worked really well. We won a silver medal that next year at the Great American Beer Festival. And of course,
So cool.
the first thing we had to do was run down to Maui Brewing Company and say, "Thank you guys, look what we got."
Oh.
That's awesome.
And they were very, very happy for
Oh,
us.
that's neat.
And a few weeks later, I think they called us back to say, "Hey, exactly what did you do with that coconut?"
We may have dropped a little chocolate in there.
Yeah.
Well, and I think they were well aware of that. But it's brewing with some strange ingredients like coconut is always a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
but it is worth it if you're willing to sit around and keep plugging away
Mhm.
with it because it's such a unique flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So that day when we unveiled, on tap was Hop, Drop, and Roll, Coco Loco, a few others that didn't make it to the final cut, but one of my favorites, an apricot wheat ale. That I know, doesn't that sound
Yes, it
amazing?
does.
that for some reason we haven't recreated.
What?
Yet?
Yet.
Because she's kind of giving you a look, Todd.
Wait, what? Give me the year again.
Last
Give me the year.
Oh.
Give me the year again. What is it?
2011. I know.
We're nearing 7 years out.
No. It just hasn't came back yet.
Oh.
Well,
I feel like there's something happening right now.
I feel like that's.
I feel like I'm being ambushed. There's a reason
Oh,
I'm in the
dear.
corner,
Hint,
I
hint,
guess.
Because you have an apricot, you have another apricot beer right now, or is it?
No.
Didn't you have another like apricot IPA?
We've made about
What's that, like,
35
fruity IPA?
apricot beers.
We did,
Oh, okay.
but the one was original. It was
Okay.
great, so we should bring it back. Sorry.
Well, maybe you will. Maybe an idea has been sparked.
Yeah. Well,
So the party was fun.
Yeah.
and then that party ends.
That party ends.
The party ends, and then do you enter like? Because there's always you hear like the entrepreneur like.
And you say next time you're gonna have to pay for your beer.
No, but it's like do you enter like freak out mode? Like at what
No.
point is this?
We've only freaked out once. So prior to that, we went crazy and had bought equipment, put deposit down on equipment, started doing everything, and basically having a brewery. Before we knew it, we had a loan for a small deposit for the equipment. We didn't have money to put down on the equipment, so we needed a loan, and realized it was going to cost a lot more than what we could borrow because 2008 and 9,
Oh,
the
dear.
crash was still really
Wow.
in everyone's
Yeah.
minds. So a friend of mine's a CPA, and one of her clients used a little known provision in the 401k code where they self-directed their 401k into their own business. And that's what we ended up doing.
And this is how she pretty much explained it to me. And I said, okay, what you're saying is you want us to take all of our 401k money that I've been saving for like 24 years,
Right.
25 years, and put it into the brewery. And she's like, yeah, but, I'm
You
going to
really
be putting
wanna
mine
do
in
this?
too. And I'm like,
Those are
okay,
so good.
yeah. Oh, but everybody likes it.
Wow.
Everybody likes
Yeah.
it when we give it to them. So,
So
no,
we
it
just,
was certainly a leap of faith.
It's the leap. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
leap of faith. It seems more of a leap right now, probably looking back at it. 6.5
Right. When you look
years
at how it
later.
could have gone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and we had we definitely were naive. We knew that not every starting business makes it past 3 years, and we recognized that. But we were very confident that the two of us working together, and we had at that time Chad Henderson, our president head brewer, was on with us at that time. And,
How'd you meet him?
he was a member of the homebrew club,
Okay.
and for some reason,
Wow.
Charlotte's a pretty big, small town, right? And you seem to always run into the same people, or you hear about another person. Perhaps
Yeah.
you haven't met them, but their name keeps coming up. And
Mhm.
that was the situation with Chad.
We love Chad.
And I think he knows your studio as well as probably as you guys
I
do.
know.
I was gonna say.
I'm like, you're where the mics are, Chad. Go grab the mic.
And he really is a wonderful individual, and he's just as warm on the inside as he is fun on TV or whatever.
Mhm.
We really enjoy spending a lot of time with Chad, and he's been a huge reason why we've been successful.
Mhm.
It's great to have a wonderful brewer, but it's even better to have one that's somewhat personable
Yeah.
and can relay the information and the excitement about the product to the people. So.
And then, at what point did you, or when the brewery took off, like when did you, did you split into two different roles? Like, did you immediately go into, I am channeling my inner marketer?
Yeah, how do you guys work that out?
It actually works out really well. Our talents do not really overlap on the business world. He oversees brewing, handles all of that. Once it's in package, sales, marketing, everything else takes over. So I'm operations, HR, marketing, sales, you name it, everything else.
Everything that's not liquid.
Yeah, and
Everything
social media.
And social media.
By the way.
Biggest hire ever, I hired a social media person.
Oh, is that
Ivy.
huge?
And good for you, truly.
Huge.
Right.
Yep.
She's wonderful.
So smart,
I don't
yeah.
know what I did without her before.
I
She
bet.
is wonderful.
You didn't have any time off.
I
That's
didn't,
one thing.
yeah.
But no, she's really good at what she does. Suzie, that is, and our social media person is even better at it. And that's probably not. There's not many things I'm going to say that Suzie is outdone by.
No, but that's probably one of the million like entrepreneurial decisions. You know what I mean? Like, I got to free myself
At
up
what
because I
point
know
do
I'm
you
more
do that? Yeah.
useful doing HR marketing,
Exactly.
all the above, right?
Well, and wanting to have a little bit of a life, because that's kind of what we
Yeah.
started this for.
Yeah, right. To
To-
free yourself up to be right.
To have a life.
Right.
And, the brewery, it's like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You're pregnant during the build out, you're pregnant during all of the equipment, all of that. And then labor is the day you open.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to raise the kid.
Then you have to raise a kid.
Right.
And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, sleepless nights,
Yeah.
early mornings, late night, you name it. So it's just like a child. So we
So-
have a 6-year-old.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's tie all that in then for us, if you will, too, because I'm curious how that plays out for you guys, just in terms of work-life balance, a blended family. I mean, you have a lot of dynamics there that you probably have learned along the way. Some things have probably worked out great. Some things you probably, looking back, may have done differently. How's that all? How do you handle all that?
I don't know.
It's a big question.
It
Yeah.
is a big question.
Because how old are all the kids now?
Almost 30, 28, 27, and 26, almost 27, and 25.
So everybody's out of the house.
This is a
Everybody's
first.
out of the house.
Oh dear.
Oh, no.
Yep, go for it.
Jeez.
Yep, I'm just going to use my shirt. Keep going.
Yep, go
Yep,
for it.
keep going.
2 of them are married. We have a granddaughter, so our oldest son and his wife have a baby. So
She's how old?
she's
She's like,
one.
I was going to say about one, right? I
She's
remember.
adorable.
Oh, that's so fun.
She's
And they're all here?
And they're all here.
Oh,
Well,
that's
no,
great.
I'm sorry. Our daughter just moved to Columbia to go back to school.
Okay.
She was a nurse through CMC, and she is going back. I don't say this well, so go ahead and say it.
A nurse anesthetist school.
I have the hardest time saying that.
I know, I do too, but they're my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
Yes,
So she's
we'd all
awesome.
appreciate their talents.
Right?
She's so smart.
Epidural.
So she just moved to Columbia to go back to school.
Oh, well, so not too far.
Not too far. Yeah. Work-life balance, we are trying to figure that out.
Mhm. Work-life integration, right? Is that what we call it
Yeah,
instead?
That's what we
that's
call
You
it.
heard that term? Isn't that such a?
That's
it gives you
true.
a healthier because you're like, there's just not they all kind of, especially when you're in business and you're
Yeah.
married.
And that's
Yeah.
something unique about, your job is obviously unique as well, but this is a unique business in the beer industry. I'm not sure if we understood exactly how unique it was when we got involved.
We did.
We really enjoyed the culture of meeting more people, going to events, promoting our product, listening to other people promote their product, whether they were beer clubs or whether they were just cookouts and things like that. So we fit in well with that. But what we found out is that's just part of the job. Obviously, you got the full-time, daytime part, which you're making the product, you're promoting the product, but then you're representing the product at night.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be very overwhelming at times, where you're booked up 6 or 7 nights, of course, and then 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so if you're doing it together, it's certainly better than doing it apart.
Right.
But at the same time,
This
yeah,
is this
There you
podcast
go.
is. Otherwise, I would never see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We get it. I know, but it's still a lot. But it's not the same as being on your couch together.
No,
No.
it's not. So when we got married, we had 4 kids in the house, busy.
Yeah.
We started this when our youngest was a sophomore in college. I could not imagine. Hats off to you guys to have as crazy of a life as you do with 3 young kids. Ours was a sophomore in college, so we didn't have to worry about feeding him, getting home at any time, and we.
Oh, we don't worry about feeding ours.
Yeah, we're failing.
Just
We're
figure they'll
for
figure it
sure
out.
failing our
I was
children.
going to say,
Yeah.
our sophomore was probably feeding us at that time.
Yeah.
So, right. He'd have dinner ready.
Right.
Oh, okay, I love it.
Yeah, we have 3 dogs. We bring them to work with us, so they are our kids now, and we are struggling. We've got to figure it out how to balance the craziness of our life, and we need to get hobbies. That's
What, something outside of work?
something
you mean?
outside of beer and work.
Interesting.
That's the struggle right
Yeah.
now.
I think I could find a hobby. I don't think that'd be any
Do you?
problem at all.
Because home brewing was your hobby, and now it's your job.
Yeah.
What other stuff? What are you guys interested
Well,
in?
I might start brewing again. That might be fun.
Oh, cool.
But I am pretty close to it right now, and I don't know if my temperament will allow, after 6.5 years of professional brewing, whether I'll be
Right.
able to jump into the home brew and be able to accept the results of whatever I made in my garage again.
Yeah.
That might be challenging, but
Do you still fly?
no, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting back and maybe taking some soaring lessons or something like that. Something more
Yeah.
affordable.
Gliding.
Flying has become so expensive with
Mhm.
fuel and insurance and things like
Right.
that. And then maybe if everything falls into place, maybe we'll be able to rent an airplane every now and then and fly around or something like that. So who knows?
You probably didn't think when you got into this that you would get into politics.
No, we did not.
So let's talk politics for a second.
Wow.
I know this is like the dinner, the holiday dinner table topic to avoid.
Well, be specific though. Yeah, you know what you're.
No, I'm going to talk about the current administration. No, I'm talking about. Look, I got you to say it. No, craft freedom.
I know exactly
you
where you're
knew
going
where
to.
I was going. Thank you very much.
I did too. That's why I said.
No, I don't think she did. I don't think she did.
Yeah.
Craft freedom. You got NoDa and
Old Mac.
Old Mac. You guys are sort of leading the charge, right? And you talk about Greensboro. As soon as you go through Greensboro, you get to about, what is it, Mebane?
Yeah.
And you pass what's the brewery?
Red
Oak.
Yeah.
They have given all of their advertising space to Craft Freedom. And so they're Team Craft Freedom.
Right.
So just real quick, we don't have to go too deep. I mean, I don't want to get you guys angry on your date night, but tell us a little bit about how that's evolved for you.
So just a little background for those that don't know. There is a North Carolina law that allows you to self-distribute your beer, which is great. As a new brewery, you don't have to hire a middleman. You can go directly to the bar, restaurant, grocery store and say, here, would you like to buy my beer? Here's all the details. We know the beer, love the beer, can promote the beer different than a distributor.
And at that particular time, if you're that small, it might be very difficult or impossible to find a third party who's interested in carrying your brand because, of course, they make money based upon your sales volume.
Right.
If your sales volume is pitifully small, it may not justify a wholesaler to carry your brand when he has so many others that he can sell in its place. So, I mean, it's true what Suzie said, that it benefits the brewer because there's a little additional margin that the brewer enjoys.
Yeah.
He's now collecting the production cost of the beer, but he's also collecting the distribution cost too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really what allows small breweries to grow. It gives them the seed capital to keep moving and buying tanks and things like that. In a very difficult business. It's a very low margin business, but it helps a little bit if you can sell some of your product. And I think what also we found out is if you're able to actually meet the people who are buying it, then you develop this relationship.
relationship, totally.
Absolutely. And Charlotte's a relationship city.
Yeah.
We could tell our story better than a third party person.
Of course.
because we
Yes.
live our story.
Of
Right.
course,
Yeah.
right.
And nothing against those people who do that.
Yeah.
I mean, they serve a fantastic purpose, especially for companies who are trying to sell their products, but they produce them outside the state.
Define small though too, because isn't that the whole issue? If you reach a certain threshold,
Right.
then you are you have different requirements. on you.
Exactly. So the law allows us to self-distribute up to 25,000 barrels, and one barrel is 31 gallons. So the number may sound huge, but it really
That's per
isn't
year?
per year.
Yeah.
And it is what it's kind of misleading. It's a self-distribution cap, but it includes what you sell in your tap room. We're in South Carolina, right across the border. It includes what we sell down there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't self-distribute it. We have a distributor by law in South Carolina. So it's really what you produce, up to 25,000 barrels. And at that point, you have to turn over all of your distribution, so back to barrel one, over to a third-party distributor to sell your beer. So at that point, you don't have a choice. It's not us wanting to be in front of the customer anymore. We don't have a choice but to have someone else be in front of the customer and sell it and compete in a portfolio of 900 other beers.
Right.
Then add maybe wine, add cider now, all of that, you just get lost,
Yeah.
especially as a smaller business.
You've already you've said, like, look, we're struggling, work-life balance, we gotta work on that. But as you've gone through it, when you've got that piece, you've got starting a company, what does that look like at home? I mean, is that hard? I mean, we get to do our own thing. She comes home and she's like, work, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, work. But like, just
Yeah.
maybe a
with
little
those
peek,
two-
what's that like?
So it's nice. We can make decisions on the fly, which is wonderful. We're not a big company that we have to say, okay, let's get the board together and
Right.
decide.
I'm sorry?
I can say over
I
breakfast,
didn't know
over
where she was.
dinner.
I didn't know where she was going with that.
I'm pretty sure I was told that I was given approval.
Yeah. Well, I think and it's funny. I think you're both right. Susie's right. Part of the fact that we were able to make such quick decisions, and we didn't have to satisfy a board. There was a much more long-term vision for what we were trying to do. We understand it's the long game. It's not the short game, and so we would forgo short-term profits or even short-term gains to make sure that we were actually going to be there for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the goal for us, is to prepare ourselves for the future. And I think it's paid off. But at the same time, there was one time where I looked at Suzie and I go, you know, it's just a little bit too easy to convince you to spend a lot of money to do something. That probably should not be the way it is.
I'm a risk taker.
Love that.
Yeah.
At a medium-sized company, maybe it should be a little bit harder to get approval for checks that require have lots of commas.
Yeah.
So, and she definitely accepted that comment in the manner in which it was meant. It was a nice thing, because I think we've been very successful because we've made some good decisions, and a few that we probably would like to take back, but by and large we've been pretty successful with that.
Live and learn.
But we also recognize the need to get outside eyes and opinions about things, and that's what will take us to the next level. I mean, we got us to the first level. We want Jake, I want Jake to take us to the next.
Can I ask, what is the next level?
We're trying to figure that out. So going back to Craft Freedom a little bit, once we won the gold medal for Hot Drop and Roll, the World Beer Cup in 2014, it was a game changer. We couldn't keep up at our original location, the OG. We had a 15-barrel system. We were starting at 4 in the morning, finishing around 10 at night, and not keeping up.
Right.
It was terrible.
Right.
We're in the business to sell beer.
It was great.
It was great. Right. Right.
Yeah. We're in the business to sell beer, not to say no.
She's
So-
making it sound like a miserable time.
No,
Yeah,
we get it. I get it.
was,
Yeah.
it was great, but it was really frustrating because, you want to share your love of the beer with
Sure.
everyone, and we couldn't. So
People come for the beer. You want to have the beer. You want-
exactly, not see you next Tuesday.
Right.
So we ended up needing another location, needing a bigger system, and that's when we opened the North Tryon location.
Which is
what we-
awesome.
Thank you. What we realized is now we have this law that we're, slowly pushing up against. And it's not a, oops, we go to 25,000 in one barrel, so sorry, we're not going to do it next year. Once you go over, you're done.
Period.
It's till death do you part. Yep,
Moving forward forever.
forever. You sign with the distributor, it doesn't matter whether you're 25,000 barrels, 50,000, or 10,000 barrels. You're
Why is that? Like, where did that law come from? Is it? I mean, obviously, it's distributors lobbying for that. I guess they want the. I mean, what's the benefit?
I think a lot of the current laws were put in place many, many years ago
Yeah, in the 80s.
to protect the distributors.
Yeah.
It sounds like a dart throw, frankly. I'm
Mhm.
imagining a bunch of
Is it just-
legislators playing
yeah.
drunk darts.
Well, and none of these laws happened because a legislator wanted, or a legislature member wanted it. It happened because either a distributor
Sure.
felt pressure from a
Ah.
big beer
Uh-huh.
company,
Gotcha.
or the big beer company felt that distributors. So I mean, these were all laws written to protect members of the beer community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the legislation was originally developed to protect family-owned distributors, and there's 10 of them in North Carolina that I know of, to protect them against some really large beer manufacturers. And they, because basically...
To allow them to
Yeah.
go do that on their own. In other
Well,
words.
if 80 to 90% of your family's sales are one product,
Yep.
you're beholden to that company.
Mhm.
And it could be very scary if they were to withhold product from you, or to change the terms of your agreement or whatever. So some of these laws are put in place to protect those companies, and we recognize that. But at the same time, now that was when you had, 18 manufacturers of beer in the United States. Now we have 300 in North Carolina alone,
Right.
and over 5,000 in the United States.
Yeah.
We don't have that many distributors anymore, so now it's sort of out of whack.
Yeah.
If we wanted to hire distributors, our choices are relatively
Yeah.
limited based on territory. So, and from the distributor's point of view, if you've got 1,500 breweries who want to be represented by you, that's a very big challenge too. So
Mhm.
it's a problem on both sides right
Mhm.
now.
Outdated legislation. Yeah. Law.
Yeah, so what the future holds is kind of on hold right now for us.
Okay.
We're working to get the law changed, and once we do, we'll slowly start pushing out around the state. Our goal is not to get big, huge, be in multi-states, just be in the Carolinas, but just to slowly grow. So
Yeah.
once the law changes, which, we're hopeful, we have to be hopeful, or we'd be going down a whole other path.
Yep.
And my two goals when we opened the company was to say no as little as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and that meant to customers, if you want our product, we want to be able to say yes. We don't want to have a reason why we can't sell you the product that you want,
Yep.
And the other thing I wanted to do is make sure that wherever we sell our beer, we're relevant in that particular area.
Sure.
We have a connection to the customer, we have a connection to the community, we have a connection to the charities in that community, that we are embedded in that community, just like the people who are buying our product. We want to make sure of that. And when I go through stores right now, I look up and I'm that guy in the beer aisle looking at every single place and going, who are they and why are they in North Carolina?
If someone brings you Sierra Nevada and you're like, okay, so I got it.
Well, no, if they'll bring me Sierra Nevada, I'll definitely drink that. No, and now that they're in North Carolina, it's even fresher and even better. So it's certainly been one of my, and Ken Grossman, the founder of Sierra Nevada, has definitely been one of my mentors, and
That's cool.
he's been a fantastic guy. And his son Brian runs the facility here in Mills River in North Carolina, and he's a super guy too.
Yeah.
But to see brands that are, in Washington State selling IPAs in North Carolina, it just kind of makes me shake my head going, why aren't they selling theirs in Washington State? Why are they selling in North Carolina?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to be selling in Washington State. And
Right.
beer is kind of like bread, as our friend over at Old Mecklenburg, John Marino, says. And it's a fresh product, and it's better served fresh.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the longer you transport it, the more wear and tear it's going to have on it. So
Makes sense.
we want to be here in Charlotte. This is where we live, and maybe a little bit further out, but that's about it.
When you're not doing podcasts with boring Valentine people, where do you have like a favorite date night place? Do you guys have like where you like to grab
where
a
do you guys
drink,
have
where you like to grab a bite?
Yeah, again, we live in Cotswold, so our two go-tos are Pizza Peel, which we just got back from dinner.
Yeah.
Oh,
you did?
wow,
Nice.
cool.
We're post-podcast dinners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
If I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, post-podcast
Sometimes it's
sleepers.
post-podcast cereal when we get home, let's be honest.
Yeah.
In Leroy Fox. So again, both those, and then Eddie's for breakfast.
Eddie's for breakfast.
Yeah, like
we haven't done either
Poppy's
of those.
bagels, yeah.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
Poppy's bagels.
Yeah.
I do too.
Cool.
Nice.
There's so many great places here in Charlotte. We're
I
very
know.
fortunate. There's some wonderful restaurants, great breweries, and some really cool wine bars too. They don't let me see me come in because I ask so many questions.
You
I
do?
have to wear them out. So I'm really
Oh, they love
fascinated.
it.
All right, I'm like, do you guys ever do that? Do you ever kind of like just sneak in the back of a brewery and just like, okay.
Can you do that? You probably all know each other.
I was
So
gonna
all
say.
the-
We all know each other.
Yeah.
We support each other and go there.
I know, I love it. You really do. Can I
You
just
really
say that
do.
too? We
I was gonna
talked
say.
about that with you one time because we were talking about Sarah and Justin. They
Yeah.
were our first,
Yeah.
from
I
Sycamore,
remember that.
our first guest, and then I don't know. We've talked about other brewery stuff at various times, and you have always just said like, oh, we support each other. There's nothing weird there. There's room in the sandbox for everyone. Like it seems like a really cool community. I don't know if it's central to Charlotte or if that's kind of beer community in general.
It's beer community in general.
Yeah.
We have, I guess, one common enemy, if you want to call it that, and it's big beer.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have them as our enemy if they didn't have, if
Would
they
play
were
nice.
targeting
Yeah,
us.
sure.
So we really all just want each other to do well.
Yeah.
And craft beer to take over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Okay, so speaking of competition.
Uh-oh.
no.
We like to end every podcast with a boys versus girls
Gotta get this
game of
down.
catchphrase. You guys know how to play catchphrase?
We're old now.
Okay.
No, do not
Do
let
it,
all.
please.
You guys were
I'm
hosting
afraid I don't know that.
6 keg
Yeah,
parties.
hello.
Like,
Yeah, 6 top
Well, we
cat.
didn't make people perform before we gave them the beer, though.
Yeah, no, well, this isn't. Don't worry. This is okay. So catchphrase. We just played a 3.
Okay.
So we're a team. So when I get it, I give you clues, and you have to guess the word or phrase that I'm
We
looking
got
at
this,
here.
Jake.
More high C.
Okay.
We got this.
More fruit punch. Got it.
So you'll hear it
I'll take a
beeping.
drink.
Yes. When it's beeping, we still have time. When it stops beeping,
Okay.
the rule is if you're I'm not with the beer burp. Sorry. When it's
That's what we're doing. Like,
trying to swallow, yeah.
yeah.
You hit next. Hit the blue next. Don't hit anything else.
Okay.
Okay. When it stops beeping, whoever is holding it loses.
Oh, so we just pass that around.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's like taboo. Just don't say the word on the screen.
And what's the object here? To
Get to 3.
Don't be stuck with it
3
in your
points.
hand.
Don't be stuck with your hand.
But it gives you a clue when you're supposed to come with a phrase.
Like
or-
if it said wood, I would be like, it's on the wall next to you.
Oh.
You know, and you guess the material on the wall. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Get your
then-
mind out of the gutter fairly.
And then you hit.
And then you pass, and you
Pass
hit
it.
next and pass it to your partner, or pass it
It's
to the
date
person next to you.
night. All right.
Got
Okay,
it.
so Todd,
Pressure.
stand by. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Is our battery's out? You've got
No.
to be joking.
Here, give it to me. Here, you stall. I'll
You
figure
use
it
that
out.
at home. We usually
Figure it out.
steal batteries, unfortunately.
You
I
didn't
know.
test it for.
Just take them out of the smoke
The
detector.
It's up.
Yeah.
I'll start. Ready?
Okay.
Todd, you ready?
So wait, say when. He
All
has
right,
to
so
say
you're
one
gonna
for
give me a
category.
clue, and I have to.
Gotta change
No.
batteries tonight.
I know.
Yes, you're guessing.
No, wait, you do the category first.
Okay.
So Susie gets to say stop.
Susie, say stop.
Stop.
Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Oh, a good one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
It's the boys, remember?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Oh, he has fundraisers for kids.
Jerry Lewis.
Super Bowl in between.
Halftime.
Oh dear.
Was
Watch your
on
beer.
her own comedy show with John Goodman.
Roseanne Barr.
You ever watch that? How'd you know that? These women that wear sashes and bikinis and Miss
Miss
USA. These things are called
Miss Universe.
the whole thing,
Beauty
like
pageant.
He hosts a show where he has a giant stack of note cards and he's got glasses and he pulls them very slowly and he asks, tea, a brand of tea, iced tea, brand of
Iced tea, Tetley, Lipton.
Yes, that's the last one, and the first name is.
Oh gosh.
The first name is LeBron.
James Lipton.
Oh, yes,
I know.
Woo! All right.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That was high pressure.
Isn't James Lipton
It
the
is
like
James yes, you're right.
theater guy?
Right.
Okay.
Actors Studio.
Those
So you
were
press
very,
start.
very good clues, by the
That was
way.
good.
Oh
That
my
was good
gosh!
guessing, too.
Great guessing. You nailed it.
So that's
All
the
right.
classic example of why catchphrase sucks, because there was nothing we could do about that.
Meanwhile, this puddle is
I know,
hilarious.
Is it going under the desk?
100%.
Oh.
All into my pants.
So just hit next.
So just
Now
hit
you get
next.
start. No, now you get
Sorry.
start. Up top.
And then hit next.
She is Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Kate Hudson.
Crate Hudson? Crate Hudson.
This is a category. It would be like
Entertainment.
Toby Keith.
Country music.
They don't play guitar, but they.
Singers.
So they're.
Country singers. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Oh, this is an old, there's a moose, it's an old cartoon, there's a moose who talks like this.
Bullwinkle.
Yep, what's the other one, the first one, the little
Rocky.
guy,
Okay, first name, blank Wayne, Western guy.
John.
Yep, that's the first one. Last name is Taft, president. First name. That was, William, but it was Williams. I would have had it on plural.
John
Williams.
Who's that?
Wow. He's a conductor.
Plus I thought Taft's first name was Richard, so
Old Dick Taft. Old Dick Taft.
I was like, Richard Johns? What's that?
Oh.
Alright, so 1-1, this is
Richard Jones.
I don't even know what,
Start, 1-1.
What they walk on at the Oscars.
Runway. Runway?
Color of.
Red carpet.
Runway.
Sorry.
If you have a really good ticket for a fight, you have
Front row seat.
it is near the.
Ringside seat. Yes.
Donald Trump used to host this show. You're fired. Not the intern, but.
The Apprentice.
Politics, come on. Jimmy Fallon hosts the.
Late Show.
But not daytime, but
Night.
it's happening. Yep.
Night.
It's not. There's something right before night.
Late night show. Late night.
What's the number after between 1 and 3?
2. Tonight. Late tonight.
Say the whole thing.
Tonight. What's the order? Oh, the Tonight Show. You could have said Johnny Carson's old show or something.
You're right.
I kept wanting to jump in to give you a
No, I could have gone Johnny Carson.
Sorry.
I could have gone Johnny Carson.
I thought it was on a different network.
Tonight.
Girl power.
Girls
Hey,
won!
we could have bet at 9:30.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And you actually kind of said I was going to actually give him the point, but I'd rather take the win, so yay, girls!
All right.
Yay,
All
boys.
right. It's all
Yeah,
right.
all right.
Yay,
It's all
boys.
right.
So,
Air 5.
Okay.
you guys, that was fabulous. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. I
Yes.
know we're all across the board.
That's how we like it.
No,
That's
exactly.
how
We
Date Night
we
rolls.
talked a lot of beer, but also just it was great to hear the backstory and the trials and tribulations of an entrepreneur. Was that dramatic?
Yeah.
It was very dramatic.
Dramatic and accurate at the same time.
No, but in all seriousness, you guys. I mean, as you guys are, maybe this is right. You guys are an iconic brand, and
Yeah.
we love NoDa. I mean, it's in our fridge all the time. I love being on the advisory board, but truly, we really like you guys and love the story, and we were happy to have you on.
Well, We love having you on the board. And
Do we hug now? What is going on?
yeah, and Paige gets me ready every morning when I'm getting ready to go to work.
Oh, there you go. Yay.
He's always watched
See you in a
it.
couple hours. Oh, good. Literally, I'll see you in a couple hours.
All right.
Again.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you
All
for
right,
having us.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Do the big, yep, do the big headphone exhale. All right. All right, say bye to Facebook.
Bye,
Facebook.
Bye.
See ya.